changes. We really believe in taking a broad approach. Let's look at the wider landscape before we kind of dive in a little bit deeper. So we aim to uncover the root challenges preventing the shift towards a regenerative food systems. We'll identify opportunities for meaningful change and set the stage for deeper collaboration in upcoming sessions. So today we are here talking about challenge mapping. The next one will be about identifying those leverage points using the Iceberg model, and then mapping those leverage points with systems mapping. And so we hope you stick around today and the next series for a combination of three. Now, we want to know how everybody's coming into this space today, how you're coming in, and then maybe how you're leaving. So we like the moodometer to show just how you're coming in, how are you feeling today? So to keep it anonymous, of course, you'll want to grab one of those orange stickies on the left-hand side and just let's all decide, how are we feeling? Are we feeling ecstatic? Or are we feeling kind of confused or calm and satisfied? Or maybe today just wasn't, maybe something happened and you're walking in here with a little bit of unresolved anger. Whatever you feel free to drop it there to get started. And then below that, we would love, this is all about connections here at the network and the hub. So feel free to add your picture if you like, or simply your name, a link to your LinkedIn, or maybe you explain, a little bit about what your role. So I explained that I'm co-founder of Earth Farms. I provided a link underneath my name if you want to learn more about the project that I'm working on. And feel free to share your mood with us, put in a link to your profile so we can all stay connected. And during this time, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to use the chat. One of us will be referencing it. If you have any questions, you can leave them there and we'll make sure to reference it often so everybody's questions are answered along this journey. So this is a safe space where we want you to feel part of a community. Feel free to speak your truth and have some fun along the way. Yes, we'll drop the mirror board link. I can do that for you. All right, and then let's see what's the consensus here? We have some very happy people, which is great, very calm, collected, motivated.
Huh?
Love that. Optimistic. Where's mine? Where's caffeinated? That's me. So I guess that means energized.
The board is very, very slow with all of us on it, so getting there.
Yeah, take your time, patience. All right, I love this. So some people are coming in, arriving maybe a little bit stressed from the workday, which is completely understanding. And then it sounds like curious about the mapping section, which is great. Thank you for elaborating a little bit. Feeling content. And I love it when, elaboration. So interested in the dilemma of the African farmer stuck between. hopefully, Krishan, if hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, that would be great as we continue, put that specifically in the challenges you'll see next. But for now, I think that we can move forward if everybody's content with that. And I'll pass it on to Asra, who will get us started for today's activity.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for this lovely introduction with everybody. So before we get hands-on with the workshop, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today for our co-creating workshop. Jill, if it's okay, I would like to quickly grab the screen. I hope you all can see my screen. Okay. So before we get really hands-on and practical with the canvas, I would like to give you a brief overview of what went in designing this workshop, because this will help us understand the flow of our workshop. Today, we will use the canvas called Challenge Mapping Template from the SI Network. This canvas is quite simple. It is actually designed to help us understand the systemic level challenges of any industry or a challenge statement. It has two concentric circles at the center, which is the general challenges, and towards the outside, it is the specific challenges. So the whole circle is divided into four quadrants. It is representative of all the challenges that the system faces. Then we move on to understand this for our current workshop today. We begin with a challenge statement, which is what challenges are preventing our current food system from being more regenerative. Then we have the general challenge circle here, where you pull up a sticky and then you put up a challenge that is more general and general to the challenge statement that we have today, like food waste or reduction in the food productivity. Then we move on to the outer circle, which is putting up the specific challenges. So we have about four quadrants that we have picked up: environmental challenges, socio-cultural challenges, economic and market challenges, policy and governance challenges. So you would spend 15 minutes putting up stickies that are specific to each of these quadrants. You can choose to do however you would like to. Maybe if you move in the clockwise direction, you can spend most of the time and also grab all the time that you have. After we have put up all the stickies, we move to the next part in the canvas, which is connecting the stickies that you think are relevant and that really interact with each other to form the current state of food system that we have. After we have done the mapping, we arrive at the systemic level understanding of different challenges and how they are interconnected with each other, and also understand the widespread nature of these challenges, which is about another 10 minutes we would spend there. And towards the end of the workshop, where we are done the mapping, we would arrive at different challenges and we would spend some time for voting them, specifically trying to understand which are more relevant for the challenge statement that we are using today. And that would be explained as we go around, but this is giving you an overview of what happens. So towards the end, we would like to use the insights that we have gathered in our workshop today to arrive at a challenge statement that is representative of the systemic challenges that we face in our current food system today. So let's get started. Before that, I'm sorry, I missed a point, because we are very quite stressed and really tight bound on the time. We would like to maybe stress on saying, maybe when you're putting up your challenge, you can use the keyword and the effect of it on our current food system. So it's easy for us to understand what this is about and also help us with the mapping of the challenges as we go by. So, okay, so let's get started. I will put on the timer for all of us. And Jill, can you grab the screen again?
Yes, I will share my screen again.
Alrighty, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and I think we're good to go.
Hi everyone, sorry for interrupting in between. I see that a lot of people are putting the stickies just in the center. We would also want you to put stickies in the quadrants that they belong, like under environmental challenges or economic and market challenges. And we would also like to emphasize that these specific challenges help us understand how widespread the challenges in the current food system are. So if you can also spend the rest of the time doing that, that would be amazing. All right.
right.
So we are done with the time, and I see that the board is quite interestingly populated and a lot of interesting challenges. Sarah and Jill, did you find anything that you would like to call upon and discuss?
Yeah, I had a question. In yellow circles, I thought this was interesting. I just would love for the person maybe to Krishan. You mentioned here it says, is or like regenerative agriculture more of a first world problem? I just wanted to know what you meant by that. Sorry, I brought everyone to me to take a look here. If you're open to sharing more about it, I just wanted to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to find myself on the screen again. No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
See me at all? Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's an issue that seems to me, even here in Mauritius, you find that those who are practicing or trying to go for regenerative agriculture are those who don't depend on agriculture as such. You find people who are ex-corporates who decided in the midlife crisis to change jobs and go for these. I'm just wondering whether that is a reflection, or it reflects a bit that what the young people now say, their first world problems, which are when everything else is working fine, then you find this as a problem. Whereas in the developing world, they don't have time to address all these approaches that require a lot more intense attention and so on. So where maybe you don't have the luxury of adopting these practices because you're too busy, going for the traditional intensive agriculture just to make a living. So I thought I'd put that question in there just to see what comes out from the group as well. Thanks.
Yeah. And what kind of effect do you think that has, this kind of mindset that it's a first world problem and the developing nations, it's something different? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, well, I haven't reflected enough about it myself, but it's a question that I have in my mind. Is this something that is more, it's better, promoted, it's more popular in environments where other things are not a problem. So, this is what the people always talk about, it's a first world problem where, you have electricity all the time, you have water, you have irrigation, you have all these things. And then you just have, it's time to move away from this to go for other kinds of production systems. Whereas in the developing countries or developing world, we are still struggling with trying to increase production, improve productivity, and you don't have the option of experimenting. And
may I say something?
Having said that, the challenge is then, how do you now scale up the few successes we have around us to be able to get a better adoption rate? Thanks.
Thank you for that perspective. Go ahead, jump in.
Well, I come from Brazil. Our government practically sold our country to China and to everybody that can buy what we grow here. And what it causes is displacement of people. They destroy the environment, the soil, old habits, etc., etc. Nobody wants them. What I can say are only a few people that can make a lot of money, making a lot of money and destroying the environment. However, they are in power and they are in the government. They are tackling the power, etc., etc., and concentrating the results. Regular people that live in the country don't want the big farms doing stuff, because the money never comes back to us. And I can tell that because I worked for, I was asked from Bayer to work for them and develop a software to make them use more defensives that actually grow cancer in people. And this is a very vicious circle. And we don't fight. When I say we as Brazilians don't fight because they don't have enough knowledge, awareness of everything that is happening. It's not that we want to increase productivity. It's that most people don't know what big farmers and things like Bayer, Monsanto are doing. It's about awareness. It's not about surviving because people from the country are not getting the right stuff.
Yeah, I think we can all agree there's this lack of overarching awareness for sure at a community level. So I appreciate it's so interesting to have these different perspectives. And this is what's so great about these co-creations, having perspectives from all over the world united and coming together to have these healthy discussions. And so I look forward to future workshops where we can continue to kind of break these down and talk in more detail. But Azra, you wanted to highlight somebody else,
I
another point?
invited Lara to share her views around around the sticky that she put. Lara, would you like to go on mic and share that?
Sure. So the one about the current food system is profitable and efficient. Yeah. So I feel like one of the main challenges that's preventing the food system from being regenerative is the way that the current food system operates and the large food businesses that like operate it and kind of control it have been doing so for years, and they've made very efficient modes of production and huge like quantities of scale of ingredients, which makes them very cheap. So they've figured out the most efficient ways through now legacy infrastructure to produce high volumes at low prices, and telling them you need to change the way that you're making food because of the degradation to the soil and those kind of things. It's difficult to change when that's likely going to affect their profits, likely going to, if even if you say in the future it will be more profitable, and you will still have a business in 50 years because you'll be moving to a more like sustainable way of food production. It's when you see, people faced with costs and I think also like big CEOs of these companies where they are constantly moved on if they're not making enough profits, and those kind of things we saw with Nestle recently, the CEO change. We've literally just today Unilever's got new CEO. So I feel like yeah, basically trying to shift away from this very profitable way of doing things is difficult.
Thanks, Lara, for sharing that insight. And maybe we can take another person who would like to share a view, and then we move on to mapping all these challenges we have here. Jill, do you have something that you would want to spotlight?
Actually, I see that there is a lot of stickies with a yellow star, but I'm not sure who's doing
It was
which
Sarah
That's
who put that.
that's me for the next
Okay.
section. Sorry.
You already put the one you liked. No, I don't know if anyone wants to grab the mic to share something.
May I invite James Turner to share something?
Oh yeah, I think there was a couple of ones that I put there that are related to that power and concentration in the food system with a few food companies, and also on the seeds and fertilizer supply and input supply, and that they're focused on what Lara was talking about, that sort of efficiency, large scale production, which means that it's becoming perhaps we experience it in New Zealand, a one size fits all type of production, which isn't matched to the place, the location where farming is happening. And then the other one that's relevant to New Zealand as well is the impacts of colonisation, where we had large-scale clearing of land and draining of wetlands, which means that again we're farming in ways that don't fit with the landscape and with the capacity of the landscape to care for itself.
Thank you so much for sharing those views about landscape and how it really operates for the current food system. Sarah, would you like to guide everybody for the next step?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring everybody on a quick journey with me, and then you will go on a journey with yourself. So there's multiple ways you can go about this next section, so it's completely up to you. So I'm just going to show you one way. So for me, I brought you all to me. Here, this is the one that based off of my research. So I've been doing research in this area for about 3 years now, doing deep dive. I really believe in the power of interviewing. So I've conducted large amounts of interviews with people in the industry to try to understand what we're trying to understand here. And so the next one is all about making those connections. So for instance, lack of awareness is one thing. As we know, it's consumers really driving the market. If consumers demand it, farmers will do it. And so that begs the question is, how do you, for me, it's this overarching concern is that consumers lack understanding of where their food and the true cost of the food that's on their plate. And those are different reasons, right, for subsidies and such. So here I put a star, but this would become a connection point. So I could sit here and connect these around here together, or I could look at a wider thing. So my biggest thing is that there's this lack of awareness about how our diet shapes the planet and lives of others, this inherent lack of awareness when it comes to where our food is coming from. But then I'm going to bring you over here to the next one, which is bring you over here, which my belief is that there's limited market access. When I speak to conventional farmers, they can, in the Midwest of the United States, they can only grow maybe 5 things because there's no market available to them. If there was a bigger market, then they would grow it, but there's just nothing available to them. So there's this limited market access. And I think that also is a big factor. So I may connect those two. And then over here, I then go to soil depletion. Soil degradation, I'm sorry. And the reason the soil is so degraded, I've found over here, the result of that is that we're seeing severe droughts and floods. So soil degradation, there's a connection to these severe droughts and floods. So those of you who may not be familiar, I may take a connector here and take this and then put it to here. And so I could keep going here and just draw these immediate connections, but I think that's enough unless anybody has any questions about the goal here. But you're just looking for connection points. Start with one. So soil degradation. Okay, well, that leads to severe droughts and floodings. And then maybe I look over here. Well, that's from these soil degradations coming from monocropping. So there, I'm going to do my other one here. And feel free to get started as I finish. So degradation to here. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat.
Sarah, I think since we are running quite close to the end time, would you like to call on a few of these map challenges?
Sure, yeah. So I'm already starting to, as I do, start clustering in my head where are some common themes that emerge. So what are some things that keep sticking out? And so, over here we see lack of awareness. I put food literacy can kind of contributes to lack of awareness. And then so we have something going on over here around sociocultural challenges, and then climate change. These variability when it comes to the climate extremes being a common theme over here. And then policy, always an area. Not many people working over here, probably because it's just so complex. For me, it's probably why I avoid it, is because unless there's somebody in policy and governance, which would be great in the room, I just lack the understanding to even make those connections here. So it'd be great if we could get somebody over there who's knowledgeable to start, helping us look at that. And then over here, we have economic and market challenges. Obviously, farmer accessing finance, farmers having incentivizing this power dynamic that I hear often, farmers feeling powerless. So these are some of the kind of things I see a lot of connections being made there. So yeah.
In
And
the chat,
anybody else want to share anything? Go ahead. Is there something in the chat?
I'm just on chat. Alvaro from New Zealand, I think, has put up this that everything is quite connected. That's the reason why that's also a real challenge. Maybe I would like to hear from them. Yeah, hey.
I'm Alvaro. Yeah, that's when I've done exercises like this, you find that if you look for connections, they're everywhere, and that is it makes us overwhelmed and difficult to move. And I wish I had the solution for that, but yeah, it's a yeah, an observation that came to mind.
Yes, very true.
Thank you, Alvaro.
Does anybody
Just a
else want to
question.
share anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Great.
Christian. Yeah, just a question for the group now. So, if we did this long enough, what would the diagram look like in our minds? Is it that we'll have a few larger ideas in the center and a whole kind of routing network of challenges around the sides, or how do you see it in your mind?
I know how I see it in my mind, but I'm interested to
Yeah.
see what other people's minds look like.
Because you mentioned this thing about doing interviews and so on, and it reminds me of one of these techniques called grounded theory, where you interview people until you find that you're able to get to the essence of what is the root challenge, what is at the essence of the problem, and then all the others are then explained by this root of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But what, as Alvaro said, when now we're living in this age of complexity, and last week somebody said it's not the systems that are complex, it's the combination that brings complexity. So again, applying the systems approach, we can understand our different systems, but what we don't understand is how, in fact, complexity, what they said was it's when it becomes when the future becomes unpredictable in terms of the behavior of the system. And their solution was that therefore we need to have more collaboration across multiple disciplines to be able to address the challenge at scale. And you cannot keep on doing things in bits and pieces, because whatever you change in one system will have another effect somewhere else. So you've got to have multiple coordinated actions to be able to address the challenges of complexity.
Yes, I completely agree. And I don't know if anybody feel free to chime in. For me to, like somebody's mentioning, it looks very messy. There's so much going on. How I would approach this initially would be start clustering things and, okay, common themes that are kind of emerging. and then look at those, what were those connected to, and then look at those common things emerging, so we can then take a step back and kind of look at these threads and how they're all interconnected. And then, just like you said, it is complex. So understanding our limited knowledge when it comes to these things. So what experts can we bring in the room who then we can go deeper into this lens on a grounded level to understand their perspective at a far deeper level. All of us sitting here, we all have a wealth of knowledge, but you really need to spend time with it. And I think, staying open to learning more, continuous learning and understanding, and bringing in people who can help you, like you mentioned, as it continues to be complex, pull in people from all segments to continue that. But Kim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great discussion, and just want to chime in on what Christian said there. I think which I think is really, really key, the coordinated collaborational sort of effort here. I think that is completely key. And also, I mean, the other question there, what will happen if we just continue mapping and mapping? I think we would get a better sense for the problem landscape, and also the different connections, right? The links will be emerged, more stronger links between different. So I think that is the easy part, to sort of find what are the issues, how are they connected, and then sort of gradually finding out the root causes. The complexity really, really emerges, for me at least, is then, okay, now what? How do we actually understand the conditions that we have in place temporally in time, right? Now we've got to start doing things coordinated. And how does that affect, like someone said, okay, we do this now, then what's the effect of that? So it becomes, I think the extreme complexity is coming from how do we actually do the intervention? That's the key problem, I think. But yeah, super interesting. So yeah, thanks.
All right. At this point, I'm going to move it on to Jill, who's going to walk us through to start narrowing some things down and voting.
Yeah, but I think just to go back to what you just say, Kim, we are not at that stage now. So my question now, it's more about like what for you are the main challenge or ideas that you have here in the board that resonates with you the most, and ideally in the coming step we'll try to tackle what you just say, Kim. So I would like you to take like you have some stars here, and I would like you to take like until 4 stars each, and put the star on the stickies that you think are the most pressing or important challenges, and based on that we'll be able to narrow down and to use the most voting IDs to identify a challenge question that we will tackle in the 2 coming sessions. So you can all take some stars and start putting 4 stars each on the.
So we're limiting ourselves to 4 stars, right?
Yeah, because I think otherwise we'll have like some stars in all the stickies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to maybe later on get the discussion like what Kim said about coordination. And I think we need to understand that by coordination, we don't expect one person to have an answer and tell us how we should do things. But we have to have a mechanism where we are self-coordinated in addressing complexity. I think that's the beauty of a systems approach, is that we realize that we don't fully understand how the whole complex system works, but we understand that by looking for relationships, or we're able to then understand how we influence these connections. And then if we are smart enough to be able to coordinate amongst ourselves, we could come up with a plan about how we are coordinating it before we actually put it into practice. What happened to the music?
In the chat, we have really interesting on go of the conversations from all of you. I will just save up the chat and we're planning to send a mail to all of you who joined. So this will be on the mail trail.
So just to continue that conversation, for me, our strategy is to work with alliances. So in the States, we have the Regenerative Organic Alliance, who then works with the Rodale Institute, who's a prestigious, and they have a farm and these kind of pilot farms that they work with. And then in that alliance, they also have Whole Foods as a leading retailer. And so what we're doing is working within the alliance to create these relationships and targeting key elements of it, market access, which was the retailer. Then we have creating continuity when it comes to creating observations around valid practices on the farm level. And then on the alliance, their need is really this kind of B2B marketplace that is important for the retailers. So finding these alliances and understanding those people within the alliances has been instrumental for me when going around and talking about these challenges and these kind of what we were talking about here. Yeah, value structures.
So we have a lot of stars on stickies related to the concentration of power, the fact that a few corporation dominates key agricultural inputs. Yeah, actually a lot of stars in this section of the board, financial capitalism. Few here, agricultural is extractive as an industry. The belief that technology will save us. Okay, Asra, I don't know if we have some times to discuss the votes, or should we just wrapping up?
Maybe we can take one or two people who would like to share and we can move on to.
Yeah. Okay. So does anyone want to share his opinion? maybe someone that votes on one of the most voted ideas.
Yeah, I voted on the sort of power imbalances and the concentration of power, and in doing the connections, started to feel like there was a vicious cycle there that with the concentration of power, that's gained through economies of scale and being able to produce more and more, which then leads to further concentration of power with those who are able to access capital to further increase their efficiencies and economies of scale. And then I saw a connection with the policy piece around that lobbying power as well, which then shapes regulations, which then also becomes challenging for consumers to be able to vote because there's strong marketing around what we think we should be eating or told we should be eating and those sorts of things. So it started to get into this complexity and vicious cycles, but
yeah, and I think that as far as the main argument for a food distributor will be the price, it will be quite hard to exit from this paradigm. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Why not help people to grow their own food like back in the days, like we did in the past? I grow my carrots and my potatoes on my porch, on my balcony. I live in an apartment, and I learned how to do that. So I don't have everything because I have a little space, but I'm doing my part to get away from the big companies and I only buy organic. I think that the revolution is a revolution of a lot of people doing the same without the system or outside the system.
Yeah, I think ideally it would be nice, but for example, me living here in Paris, I think it would be quite hard for me to start producing and to be able to answer all my food needs. I don't have any balcony, but you're right. I mean, ideally, depending on your place and your environment, maybe we could take this direction.
Yeah, and I think it's a really, I think it actually taps into the sort of future model and I think it's a natural evolution that we're going to have to be more localized. And I don't think it's going to be feasible for us individually to sort of create our own foods. The idea, I love the idea, right? You can be self-sufficient, but I think it's more about creating corporations. So neighborhoods come together and we can, leverage new technology and the sourcing, connecting, like Sarah, connecting the farmers with these local corporations and the local food systems. I think that's part of the future model. So hopefully we go more in that direction. So we are more empowered. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that what we're talking here is short supply chain. How can we create more short supply chains and create more community-based solutions that support those short supply chains? And what is needed for short supply chains to exist? But anyway, we
One
can go
quick thing.
into all of these. Go ahead, Alvaro.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to be a bummer, but people are so busy, so busy or poor, without access to resources. So yeah, I don't know.
I think one idea would be like getting together as a community and being able to do that in a shared spaces. I know in Bonn, our previous mayor had this proposition, but it didn't really roll out well because people were busy or they couldn't really come together to connect over the idea of food. But if it really propagated, that would be amazing. So on this thought, we would like to go towards the end of this session. Thank you everyone for joining us today. It was really interesting and quite an insightful conversation for all of us to have. It has opened up a lot of things and directions in which we can assess and really approach this situation. So in the chat as well, I have been reading that we are discussing how we can actually pull off this exercise to really bring up value for the food systems problem that we are facing today. So we are right on track. In the next session that is happening on the March 25th, we would use the iceberg model to understand different leverage points that emerge out of the challenge that we finalized from today's session. So we will use up all the discussions and we will cluster them together to arrive at a challenge statement that we will use going forward in the next two sessions. It will we also aim to send out a publication for all of you as an output from this session, which will be done in next 2 weeks. I hope you watch out on your mail. So here on the screen, you see this image. There is a logo called SI. If you click on it, it takes you to the event that is happening next in the series, which is on the March 25th. Or Jill can also share the link to all of us in the chat. And Jill, if you would be okay, can you move it a little? Yeah, here. So here is where we would like to collect your feedback. Here you can rate us on a scale of 1 to 10 and how you found this session. And you can also give out any more comments that you have that will help us really plan this session and design the coming workshops efficiently for all of us. I know we did moodometer in the beginning. We would also like to end it with this on the same note to see how much of your emotions have changed in the last 60 minutes. And towards the end, we have also shared the links to all the resources that we have published as a Food Hub. And you could also use that space to put up the resources that you would want others to read. And we are recording this session, so we will put this up on the YouTube and we will share the link to all of you. And stay tuned for more updates. And we would like to see all of you in the next session and to keep these conversations going. Thanks everyone for joining. I will save the chat from today's event and send it to all of you on the mail. And yeah. So
Thanks everyone.
Thank you,
Great session,
everyone.
guys. Looking forward to
Yeah,
next one.
thank you very much. That was
See you
fabulous.
next